Now we're going to trace a pattern of the largemouth bass. We have to trace a pattern so we can transfer those measurements onto our piece of foam for the initial carving. But before we can do that, we need to determine which is the best side for this largemouth bass. We have to look at a number of different things. First thing we're going to look at is the pectoral fin. This is the fin on the side of the bass. This is a really good fin. There's no problems with it. We also look at the same fin on the other side and see it's the same way. There's no problems with it. So that's not going to be a determining factor because one of these two fins will be removed because this is a one-sided wall mount and our seam will be running here. Or if we choose this side, seam will be running there. This is the spiny dorsal. This is really good. There's no problems with it. That would not determine the side, but it would give us an idea of what we may need to fix in the future. This fin here is the soft dorsal. It does have a small area that's broken there, but we will fix that later. These are the pelvic fins. They can have somewhat of a determining factor on which side we use. If you have one of these that are bad, you could put that towards the wall, but again, these both look good and that damage can be fixed. This is the anal fin. Again, the anal fin looks good. It wouldn't necessarily determine the side, but it would show us if there's any major damage we have to worry about. This is the tail or caudal fin. It has some splits. They normally do. Nothing to worry about. We can fix those or leave them natural. We'll determine that when we finish the fish. Another thing we look for in skin mounts is if there's any major blotching anywhere on the fish. When we do our finish painting, there's a number of ways we can do it. One method is a tinting method where we use some of the natural vermiculations. Even though this thing dries black and white, those vermiculations will stay there. If there's major blotching, that can make that a little more difficult. There's no major blotching on this side. There's also no major blotching on this side. They're both excellent. Another thing we look for is any missing scales. Scales can become missing from the fish naturally swimming in the water. If a predator had grabbed it, let's say an eagle or an otter, when it was actually caught, if the fisherman rough handled it, if it bounced around in the boat or hit some rocks, if there's a big area of missing scales, we would want to maybe use the other side. Again, that's something that can be fixed, but it would make our life a little easier if we didn't have to use it. This one does not have any of that. The next thing we look at is the gill cover. If it has any deformities, this one does not on this side, and it doesn't on this side either. They can sometimes get deformities. They can be born with them. They can be injured at some point in their life if another predator fish should grab them. Next thing we're going to look at is the jaws on the fish. I don't see any deformities here or on this side. A lot of times if a fish has been caught and released, you can see some deformity there. Also, some stock pond bass will have an odd shaped jaw to worry about. This is not a stock pond fish. This is a wild caught bass, so that's good. These are the maxillary bones. A lot of times if a fish has been caught and released, these can be damaged. And that can determine what side you would want to use. In this particular case, there's no problems on either side, so that's not going to be a determining factor. It looks like this bass is almost a perfect specimen, so we can choose whatever side we want. The customer did not specify that, so I'm going to have it facing to my right.